Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every person's life when the desire for change outgrows the fear of staying the same. That moment does not announce itself with fanfare. It doesn't arrive on a golden chariot. It shows up quietly, in the form of 1 hour, yes, 1 hour. 1 hour is all it takes to begin reshaping the destiny you have been handed. You see, success is never an accident. It is the result of definite, purposeful action, executed with discipline. And what is discipline if not the power to govern how you spend a single hour? An hour may seem small, insignificant, even disposable. But let me tell you, the men and women who have risen from nothing, who have created empires from the dust of their beginnings, they understood the value of an hour. They treated it as sacred. While others wasted it, they worked. While others talked, they planned. While others feared, they acted. Change begins when you command that first hour of your day, not tomorrow, not next week today. Use that hour to think, to learn, to build, to dream, but above all to act. 1 hour of concentrated effort, repeated daily, builds habits. Habits build character, and character determines fate. There is no secret formula. There is no shortcut. But there is a truth so powerful, it has built every monument to human progress. What you do with your time determines who you become. You can either spend your hour or invest it. You can either live by design or exist by default. Do not wait for the perfect plan. Do not seek permission from the world. Decide what you want. Decide who you must become to have it. And then use the next hour, this hour, to start. Because, ladies and gentlemen, change does not require a lifetime. It requires a single, sacred hour repeated with faith, discipline, and unwavering desire. Every transformation starts with a single decision acted upon immediately. This truth is often overlooked in a world that worships complexity and delays action in the name of perfection. But history proves again and again that the most significant shifts in human lives, enterprises, and destinies began not with a grand event, but with one firm decision, followed by immediate movement. Not later, not tomorrow, but now, there is tremendous power in decision. Decision is the spark that ignites the fire of change. Yet most people drift through life in a state of indecision, hoping circumstances will change without ever choosing to change themselves. They wait for conditions to become favorable, for stars to align, for someone to tell them it's time. They overlook the fact that the most successful individuals are not necessarily the most intelligent or the most gifted. They are simply the most decisive. They understand that progress does not come to the person who waits, but to the person who moves. To decide means to cut off all other options. It is a commitment of the mind, backed by the will. It is not a weak wish, but a resolute command to oneself, I shall change. It does not negotiate with fear. It does not seek consensus. It recognizes that comfort is the enemy of growth, and once the decision is made, it must be followed immediately by action, no matter how small. For decision without action is merely fantasy. It comforts the mind temporarily, but changes nothing. Action is the proof of your seriousness. It is the declaration that you are no longer content to remain where you are. Think of every great achievement in the history of mankind, and you will find a single moment of decision behind it. The decision to rise, the decision to fight, the decision to create, to speak, to lead, to build. That moment is the invisible starting point of greatness. The man who conquers himself, who overcomes his fears and doubts, is the man who has learned the art of making clear decisions, and acting on them with courage and speed. Many people sabotage their progress by overthinking. They analyze every possible outcome, fear every potential failure, and in doing so, they fall into a paralysis that robs them of their power. What they fail to see is that clarity often follows action. It does not precede it. You do not need to see the whole staircase. You only need to take the first step. That step begins with a decision. That decision gains momentum with action, and from that momentum, a new life begins to take shape. The hour in which you make your decision is the most powerful hour of your life. In that moment, your entire future shifts. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become a creator of them. The person who hesitates, who waits for the right mood, the right season, the right opportunity, is the person who lives by chance, but the one who decides and acts is the one who creates change on purpose. This principle is not reserved for the few. It belongs to anyone who chooses to embrace it. No matter your past, no matter your current situation, the moment you make a committed decision and follow it with action, you are no longer the same person. You have become someone new not because the world changed, but because you changed, and the world responds not to who you were, but to who you have become. Change is not a miracle, it is a discipline. It is the result of a mind trained to decide, a heart trained to act, and a spirit trained to persist. The first act of power is deciding what you want and moving toward it immediately, with faith that your feet will find the path as you walk. Do not wait for motivation, do not beg for certainty, decide and then do. Let your actions become the evidence of your intent. Let your movement confirm your desire, for it is in movement that destiny unfolds. Your future is waiting for you to claim it, but it will not wait forever. Time honors the bold, life rewards the committed, and opportunity reveals itself to the one who has made up his mind. Every transformation, every rise from the ashes, every breakthrough, every victory, began with a single, unshakable decision followed by immediate action. You are one decision away from a different life. Not someday, today. One focused hour a day can alter the course of your life. This may seem like a small claim, especially in a world that glorifies hustle and endless work, but make no mistake, concentrated effort, consistently applied, is the seed from which greatness grows. Time is not just something we pass through. It is a resource more valuable than gold, and when even a single hour is directed with intense focus and clear intention, the results can be extraordinary. Consider how most people spend their time. Hours slip away scrolling, talking, wandering through tasks without aim or urgency. The day ends and nothing meaningful has shifted. Yet, for the person who claims just 1 hour and dedicates it entirely to growth, real, intentional, purpose-driven work, a new life begins to take root. That 1 hour becomes a sanctuary for transformation. It is in that hour the mind sharpens, the body strengthens, the skills develop, and the vision becomes clearer. Greatness does not come from scattered effort. It comes from the deliberate, repeated, focused use of time. 1 hour of complete concentration, applied day after day, compounds in value. What starts as an hour of learning becomes mastery. What begins as an hour of planning becomes execution. What is first an hour of self, discipline becomes character. There is a law of accumulation that governs every area of life. Energy directed toward a definite purpose, repeated with persistence, becomes an unstoppable force. The most successful individuals in the world do not necessarily have more time. They simply treat time differently. They guard their hours the way others guard money. They understand that where your focus goes, your life follows. That's why one focused hour can change everything. It's not just what you do in that hour, it's who you become because of it. In that space, you train yourself to value commitment, to push past resistance, to build momentum. And the world responds not to idle wishes, but to focused energy. Do not underestimate what can be accomplished in an hour. 1 hour of reading each day adds up to over 300 hours in a year. That's the equivalent of dozens of books, hundreds of ideas, thousands of insights. 1 hour of writing, speaking, selling, building, every day multiplies into results that few ever experience because few ever commit to showing up with focus. Distraction is easy, discipline is rare, but discipline, practiced for just 1 hour, can give you the advantage most will never have. It is not about having more time. It is about deciding what to do with the time you have. Every person is given the same 24 hours. The difference between the one who leads and the one who follows, between the one who creates and the one who complains, is not found in their conditions, but in their focus. 1 focused hour a day is a choice. It is a refusal to drift. It is a rebellion against mediocrity. It is the declaration that you will not leave your potential untapped. You can begin today. You don't need a new job, a new city, a new opportunity. You need one quiet space, one clear goal, 1 hour of deliberate action, and you need to repeat it. That repetition becomes a habit. The habit becomes a discipline, and the discipline becomes your new identity. What once felt hard becomes your standard. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Think of the things you've said you wanted: health, wealth, clarity, peace, achievement, legacy. Now ask yourself, have you given even one focused hour a day toward them? If not, begin, because what you truly desire cannot be wished into existence. It must be built, and the building happens in time, with effort, with focus, not over months or years, but 1 hour at a time. That hour may be early in the morning before the world begins to speak. It may be in the quiet of night when distractions fade. It may be during your lunch break or carved from your evening routine. The time of day is not the secret. The focus is. Whatever you do, be fully there. Let nothing interrupt you. Let nothing dilute your energy. When you give yourself fully to 1 hour, the world begins to shift in your favor. There is no magic in waiting. There is power in doing. Begin with one focused hour. Watch your mind evolve. Watch your habits strengthen. Watch your life transform. You don't need a revolution. You need a rhythm, 1 hour every day. Focused, purposeful, and unwavering, from that small hour greatness grows. Definiteness of purpose, backed by a disciplined routine, builds momentum. This is a truth that governs every life of significance, every story of triumph, every rise from obscurity to influence. No man or woman has ever accomplished anything lasting without first being possessed by a clear, burning purpose, and then structuring their life around it with relentless discipline. The clarity of that purpose becomes the compass. The discipline becomes the engine. Together, they create a force so powerful that no obstacle can hold it back for long. Definiteness of purpose is not merely having a goal. It is having a reason so compelling, so deeply rooted in your soul, that it galvanizes you into motion. It narrows your focus, silences distractions, and aligns your thoughts, decisions, and actions. Without it, people drift. They move from idea to idea, job to job, ambition to ambition, never truly anchoring themselves. But with a definite purpose, you no longer chase the wind. You command your direction. You become immune to the chaos of the outside world because your mind is governed from within. But purpose alone is not enough. The man who declares his purpose but fails to discipline himself is like a ship with a destination but no wind in its sails. Discipline breathes life into purpose. Discipline turns ideas into action, dreams into blueprints, and blueprints into reality. And discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you cultivate through repeated effort. It is the result of making choices that serve your purpose, even when it is inconvenient, even when no one is watching, even when your emotions beg you to quit. Discipline builds rhythm, and rhythm creates momentum. That momentum is what begins to shift your life. It is invisible at first. You will not feel it after 1 day, 1 week, or even 1 month. But every time you act in alignment with your purpose, especially when it is difficult, you are stacking power. You are building velocity. You are preparing yourself for the moment when everything begins to move in your favor, not by chance, but because you created the conditions for it through your devotion to purpose and routine. Most people start strong and fade quickly. Why? Because they rely on emotion, not purpose. They rely on motivation, not discipline, but emotion is unstable. It rises and falls with the weather, with the opinions of others, with how one feels that day. Purpose is steady. Purpose is your anchor, and when you pair that purpose with daily discipline, when you wake up with intention, work with intention, speak with intention, you become a force of nature. You no longer need to be pushed. You are pulled forward by something deeper than comfort. There is no great achievement without sacrifice, and the first thing to be sacrificed is convenience. You must trade temporary ease for permanent power. You must decide with unwavering resolve that your purpose is worth the cost. That means structure. That means saying no to things that do not serve your mission. That means building a routine that reinforces your values, your goals, and your future. Routine is not a prison. It is the scaffolding upon which greatness is built. Every person who has accomplished something of value has done so by living a life of intention. They did not hope their purpose would fulfill itself. They trained themselves to act over and over again until those actions became second nature. They did not wait for clarity. They created it through motion, and in doing so, they built momentum, the silent ally of every achiever. Momentum carries you through the valleys, over the setbacks, beyond the critics. It keeps you moving when others stop. It multiplies your efforts. It accelerates your growth. If you want to rise, if you want to build something that lasts, do not search for shortcuts. Do not ask for guarantees. Find your purpose, make it definite, write it down, see it in your mind's eye every day, then build a routine around it like a fortress. Let that routine be sacred. Let it be consistent. And as the days pass, you will begin to feel the shift. The same tasks that once felt like burdens will become your weapons. The same steps you once took reluctantly will become your rhythm, and the world will begin to respond to your energy, your focus, your persistence. Definiteness of purpose, backed by a disciplined routine, is not just a strategy. It is the foundation of success. It is the mindset that separates the ordinary from the exceptional, the passive from the powerful, the dreamers from the doers. Once you lock into your purpose, and once you discipline yourself to serve it daily, you will find that the impossible bends to the will of the committed. You will discover that momentum is not luck, it is earned. And you will come to know that you were never waiting on the world was waiting on you. Time, once mastered, becomes the foundation of personal power. This is a law that governs all achievement, whether in business, character, influence, or wealth. Time is the one resource granted equally to all, yet it is also the most misunderstood, misused, and squandered by the majority. Those who fail to rise in life are not victims of chance or misfortune. They are victims of wasted time. And those who succeed, who ascend above mediocrity and leave behind a legacy, are not simply more talented or more fortunate. They have learned to master time. Mastery of time begins with respect for it. Most people treat time casually. They drift through their days, allowing distractions, trivial conversations, and idle habits to consume the hours. They live as though time is endless, as though there will always be another chance, another day, another season. But time is not a gift you are owed. It is a loan you must invest. Every minute that passes is a minute you will never see again. Once it is gone, it is lost forever. And so, the individual who understands this truth begins to treat each moment with reverence. To master time is to become its steward, not its slave. It means taking full command over how your minutes, hours, and days are spent. It means planning with intention, acting with urgency, and refusing to be owned by busyness. There is a difference between movement and progress, between effort and effectiveness. Many people are busy all day, yet accomplish nothing of real value. They mistake activity for advancement, unaware that true progress comes only from focused, directed effort governed by purpose. The person who commands their time commands their life. When you decide what matters most to you and align your time with those values, you begin to build strength from within. You no longer chase other people's agendas. You no longer drift from task to task without clarity. You begin each day with a vision. You protect your energy. You eliminate the unnecessary. You become selective in your conversations, intentional in your commitments, and strategic in your actions. This is not selfishness. It is self-leadership. Time mastery is also the foundation of confidence. When you know that you are using your time wisely, you move through life with a sense of control and peace. You are no longer overwhelmed by what must be done because you have learned to break the impossible into the manageable. You are no longer intimidated by challenges because you face them hour by hour, day by day. Confidence is not just the result of success. It is the result of knowing that your time is aligned with your goals and that you are making steady, measurable progress. It is also through time that habits are built. No great transformation happens overnight. It is not the massive leap, but the daily discipline that moves mountains. When you master your time, you give yourself the structure necessary for growth. You wake up when you say you will. You train your body, sharpen your mind, develop your craft, not occasionally, but consistently. Time becomes the soil in which you plant the seeds of greatness, and every hour you spend with purpose is a water drop that nourishes your future. Disorder in time leads to disorder in life. Chaos in schedule reflects chaos in thinking. A person who cannot control their calendar will never control their destiny. But when you become a master of time, you become the architect of your own future. You know when to say yes, when to say no, and when to step back to gain perspective. You do not allow life to happen to you. You make life happen through intentional design. The greatest power lies not in doing more, but in doing the right things with the right focus in the right amount of time. That requires discipline, that requires clarity, and that requires courage. The courage to walk away from distraction, to say no to what does not serve your purpose, to delay gratification so that you can build something lasting. Time mastery is not about filling every hour with tasks. It is about extracting the most from every hour you live. When you begin to control your time, you begin to multiply your results. You create room for deep work, for reflection, for learning, for strategy. You stop reacting and start creating, and the more you respect time, the more it begins to work in your favor. Opportunities arise not by accident, but because you are prepared. Breakthroughs occur not randomly, but because you have shown up consistently. The world opens to those who are disciplined with the minutes it gives them. Time is not just a measurement, it is a tool, and when you wield it with mastery, you unlock a level of personal power few ever discover. Because time, once owned, becomes the very instrument through which every dream is shaped, every goal is reached, and every legacy is built. Consistency beats intensity when it comes to long-term change. This principle is both simple and profound, yet it is often ignored by those chasing quick results and dramatic transformations. The world is filled with individuals who start with passion, full of enthusiasm and loud declarations, only to burn out when results don't come quickly. They operate on intensity, quick bursts of effort, occasional inspiration, and emotional highs. But the ones who truly succeed, the ones who shape their lives with purpose and power, understand that consistency is the real driver of lasting change. Intensity may spark action, but it is consistency that builds empires. You do not become strong by lifting the heaviest weight once. You become strong by lifting manageable weight every day. You do not gain wisdom by reading for 10 hours in one sitting. You gain it by feeding your mind daily. You do not master a skill by practicing obsessively for a week and then quitting. You master it by showing up day after day through seasons of motivation and seasons of fatigue alike. That daily showing up is the quiet force that moves mountains. The human mind craves excitement. It is drawn to big goals, grand gestures, and dramatic plans, but the law of nature is repetition. Water shapes stone not through force, but through persistence. A tree does not grow from a single rainfall. It grows from the consistent nourishment of sun, soil, and time, and so it is with character, with vision, with success. It is not the explosive effort, but the daily discipline that carves destiny. Most people underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. They believe that if a change is not dramatic, it is not meaningful, but transformation is often invisible at first. The results do not show immediately, and that is where most give up. They fail to trust the process. They plant the seed and abandon the soil when the sprout doesn't appear overnight. But the one who is consistent, who shows up even when progress feels slow, is the one who eventually reaps the harvest. Because while others are driven by mood, the consistent are driven by commitment. There is a compounding effect to consistency. Each small effort adds upon the last, and over time, the return becomes exponential. What was once difficult becomes natural. What once required discipline becomes part of your identity, and when others begin to notice the change, it will seem sudden to them, but you will know it was not sudden at all. It was earned hour by hour, day by day, through unwavering repetition. Intensity often feeds the ego. It wants results now. It thrives on excitement and spectacle, but consistency feeds the soul. It requires humility, patience, and vision. It says, I don't need to feel it. I will do it anyway. And it is in that decision, repeated over time, that transformation takes root. The consistent person does not need the world to notice them. They are not motivated by applause or attention. They are motivated by growth, by principle, by purpose. They play the long game, and the long game always wins. There will be days when the work feels boring, when no one is watching, when nothing seems to be changing. These are the days that matter most. These are the proving grounds of greatness, because it is in those moments that the gap widens between those who merely want results and those who are truly committed to change. The committed do not wait for perfect conditions. They do not need to be inspired. They act because they decided to act, and every time they do, they strengthen their resolve. The beauty of consistency is that it is available to everyone. You do not need more talent. You do not need more resources. You need only to begin, and to continue, set a rhythm you can sustain, create a standard you can meet, and then raise that standard slowly as you grow stronger. The goal is not perfection, it is progress, and progress, maintained consistently, will take you farther than any burst of intensity ever could. So while the world waits for motivation, the wise build momentum. While others start and stop, the consistent keep walking. They may not be the loudest, they may not be the fastest, but they are the ones who reach the finish line, not because they were always strong, but because they refused to stop. Because they understood that greatness is not built in a day, but in the daily choice to keep going,